doesn't love a good pot pie? I'm sharing a recipe that's been a family favorite in our house for more than 20 years. And trust me, it's much better than those little frozen pot pies we had when we were kids. This vegan pot pie recipe reminds me of those. But this recipe is so much better because I love the whole grain crispy savory crust. I actually make extra of the crust and turn them into pot pie crackers that we serve with the pot pie. I'll show you how I do that later, but they are so good. You know I hate to make crust, so you know this one has to be easy and so worth it. But if you're really set on not making a crust, you do have options. The Pepperidge Farm puff pastry is naturally vegan and it makes a fancy little crust that you can put on top of your pot pie. You can also get some refrigerated pie doughs, but you have to watch out because a lot of those have lard in them. Another very good option is a biscuit dough that you can either make from scratch or buy at the grocery store. A lot of those are accidentally vegan also. But today I'm making my favorite whole grain pie crust. If you're enjoying this video and you do want some more family-friendly plant-based recipes, then please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, and I'll send you a new recipe every week. I'm going to get started by putting my potatoes, carrots, and onions into a pan and bring them to a boil. I used my handy little Whopper chopper to dice my potatoes to be the nice same size. I'm also adding some carrots and some onions, and then I'll add some peas or some frozen mixed vegetables to this later. While those are cooking, I am going to go ahead and make the gravy for the pot pie. I like to toss everything in the blender because it's so much easier, but you can do this with a whisk. It just takes a little bit to get the lumps out. We're just going to go ahead and add some plant-based milk. We have some chicken style seasoning, this is McKay's chicken style seasoning. And I also added a little turmeric to that so my gravy has a nice golden color. I added 2 tablespoons of onion powder. I also added a little bit of salt and then some cornstarch. We'll blend that up and put it aside until we're ready to add it to our pot pie. Let's go ahead and make a quick batch of oat flour. To do that, we just need to put the oats into the blender and blend those until they're a flour and save those for the crust later. So we just need to mix the oat flour and the whole wheat flour together. We're going to add a little bit of salt and mix that well. Now we're going to mix our wet ingredients, which is just warm water and oil. I'm going to stir those up really well so they're kind of emulsified, and I'm going to add that to the flour and just give it a little stir. And that's the pie dough. This is a tender pie dough. It's a little difficult to work with unless you use the trick I'm going to show you. A lot of times people use lard in pie dough because it's easier to roll out. It kind of holds everything together. So to roll this out, we just need to put a piece of plastic wrap on the countertop. And here's a little trick. If you wipe the countertop off with a wet cloth and then put your plastic wrap down, then your plastic wrap will hold still and it won't move when you're trying to roll out your pie dough. And then we need to put another piece of plastic wrap on top, or you can use a piece of parchment paper as well. Then we're going to roll the pie crust between these 2 pieces of parchment paper or plastic wrap, whichever you like. And you want to roll it out thin. I'm not rolling all of this out. I saved a chunk because I'm going to make some pot pie crackers in a minute. I'm using this 9x13 pan for my pot pie, so I'm going to roll it out to that shape, and you want it to be pretty thin. Once that's rolled out, I'm going to put it on top of a cookie sheet and stick it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it. Okay, the potatoes are cooked. They don't need to be completely cooked because we're going to bake this in the oven again. And so I'm going to toss in my frozen peas. Today I'm using mixed vegetables because that's what I had on hand. Either one works. And I'm going to let those hot potatoes thaw out my vegetables. Another great tip on this is if you have meat eaters in your family, you can divide this mixture up into 2 different pies. And you can put some rotisserie chicken in one and make a chicken pot pie for your meat eaters. And then you can eat the vegetable pot pie or add some soy curls or some no chicken strips from the grocery store and put those in there, and then you could have a vegetarian chicken pot pie and a chicken pot pie for dinner, and you don't have to make 2 completely different meals. Okay, let's put our veggies into our pan, and now we're going to put the crust on. I'm going to get the crust out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to take the top paper off, and I'm going to use that bottom plastic or the bottom parchment paper to pick up the pie crust and lay it over my pot pie. That way I don't have to worry about it falling apart while I'm doing it. You just peel off the paper and you have a crust on your pot pie. Now you could do a lot of things with this if you're a fancy person or you're really good at making things look pretty. You can just pinch the edges and make it pretty around the edge. Or you can, if you're like me and just want to do a rustic pot pie, you can just cut the edges off. You want to save all of that, all that extra that you cut off, because that's going to make a great pie crust cracker later. So let's finish off this pie crust. One thing you can do if you have kids is give them some cookie cutters and let them cut little shapes out, and you can put those on the pie. Makes it kind of fun for your dinner if you want to do leaves, like for Thanksgiving or for a fall dinner. It's a great activity for the kids while you're making the pot pie. So put a couple slits in the dough so that the steam can escape, and we're going to put that right into the oven. While our pot pie is cooking, we are going to make some pot pie crackers. All you need to do is the same thing we just did with the pie crust. We're going to put down our parchment paper, and we're going to put our pie dough on all the scraps that we cut off the edge, and we're going to roll this out thin again. And then we are going to peel the top layer off, and we are going to get some kosher salt, some of those large kosher salt, and we're going to sprinkle it on top. And then we are going to roll that out just a little bit so that salt sticks into the cracker. And then we will score these crackers so that they break apart real easily. And we can put that in the oven with our pot pie and let it cook. You'll want to do that for about 10 minutes. And you want to check on it because depending on how you roll it out, some will take longer to cook than others. If they start to get brown, you can pull those off, or you can break it up and put the ones from the middle on the outside so that they can get brown as well. So let that cook for about 10 or 15 minutes, keeping an eye on it, and it should be ready about the same time your pot pie is. It's time to taste the pot pie, and it looks so good. I cannot wait. But wait, don't forget the pot pie crackers. These things are great. I just use them to help clean up the leftovers on my plate that don't have any crust. If you're looking for more family-friendly recipes, here's a link to my family dinner playlist right here.